Call the meeting to order. Good afternoon. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mishi-Saugig territory and in the traditional territory of the Mishi-Saugig and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historical shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area. We recognize these original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. The following meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is a public meeting to consider development proposals that don't comply with the provisions of the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw. My name is Liz Danielson and I'm the chair of the committee. I'd like to introduce the members of the committee. John Rogers, public member. Christine Sharp, public member. Sabrina Richards, councillor for Ward 2, and public member Chris Woods. In addition, we are joined by our planner, Sean O'Callaghan, and our chief building official, Greg Moore. Mr. O'Callaghan will provide a brief overview of each application, after which the applicant or their agent will have an opportunity to address the committee. Following this, anyone else who wishes to speak to the application, either in support or against, will be given the opportunity to do so. The committee will then discuss the proposal and be given the opportunity to ask questions of both our planner and the applicant. The committee will then vote to grant, refuse, or defer the proposals. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Moved by Mr. Rogers, seconded by, Sabrina Richards.
Moved by John Rogers, second by Sabrina Richards. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting agenda of March 31st, 2023.
All in favor? That's carried. Could I also have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of February 24th? Christine Sharp, seconded by Chris Woods.
Moved by Christine Sharp, second by Chris Woods. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting minutes of February 24th, 2023.
All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we'll move into new business. And the first is an application for a minor variance on Halls Lake, I believe by Randy Lewis.
This property is located at 17560 Highway 35. The lands are zoned recreational, commercial, and environmental protection and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 2.26 acres in area with 50.3 meters of frontage on Halls Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, rural, and rural residential. And the lands are currently developed as a tourist establishment. The applicant has constructed a portion of the proposed addition without the benefit of a building permit. The applicant has since ceased construction. In order to obtain a building permit, the applicant must seek a minor variance as the addition constructed and proposed does not comply with the township zoning bylaw. The proposed addition is a 576 square foot addition to an existing accommodation unit. The accommodation unit is currently set back 4.7 feet from the northern side lot line, and the proposed addition will be located on an existing deck being no closer to the property line than what currently exists. It will also be over 60 meters from the high water mark. So the following minor variance is being requested, and that is from section 4.14.5I of the zoning bylaw to increase the gross floor area of a legal non-complying accommodation unit from 320 square feet to 896 square feet. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands and to the Halls Hawk Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received to date. Staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the addition is not located closer than 1.4 meters from the northerly side lot line prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. That any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township and or the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Are there any questions for Sean on his report? Just to be absolutely clear, is the construction basically completed? Or is it going to continue?
It's probably about 75% completed.
Okay. If there are no questions on the planning report, is the applicant here and does he wish to speak? Okay, if you'd like to bring him in.
Hello? Are you able to hear?
Hello, Mr. Lewis. I wonder if you could turn your video on.
I don't believe I have video. I'm on a desktop computer here.
Is there anything that you would like to advise us about your development or any additional information that you've got over and above what the planning report's given us?
I think Sean and Greg have been very clear. We're hoping to move ahead as quickly as possible, of course, with the busy season coming up. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. Again, I think they've been very helpful and very clear on the matter.
Do any members of the committee have questions for Mr. Lewis? Just a reminder, Mr. Lewis, it's probably better if you seek application for a building permit prior to actually going ahead with your construction. But I'm not hearing any concerns. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the application? Mr. McGee, can you hear us? I'm sorry then, if we can't hear you, I have to assume that you have no actual concerns about this application at this time. That's unfortunate. It might have been better if Mr. McGee had called in.
I'm here now.
Oh, well, there you go.
Was
do you have-
going
if you'd
through all
like-
the procedures there?
Do you have any comments or concerns about the application, Mr. McGee?
I didn't have any concerns about the application. I'm wondering if that's going to be a new setback rule in that area, or is this just specifically for this one minor variance?
Yeah, it's just specific to this one application.
Okay, we're on the south side of the property there. I know Randy. I've seen him several times. No, we have no issue with that.
Okay, thank you for attending the meeting. Could I have a mover and a seconder then to approve this application?
Sorry. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I will move it, but I do have a question. Just
Well, if you pose your question first.
yeah, quickly, and maybe to Greg, when there's a situation like this where the person has started without a building permit, do you charge an extra, is there an extra charge for application now?
Yes, there, our building bylaw does specify a double the fee or at least $200.
Thank you.
So you'll move
I move the recommendation.
And could I have a seconder, please? Christine?
Moved by John Rogers, second by Christine Sharp. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby grants minor variance application HMV 00123 to seek relief from section 4.14.5I of the zoning bylaw to increase the gross floor area of a legal non-complying accommodation unit from 320 square feet to 896 square feet. Conditional on the following: one, confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the addition is not located closer than 1.4 meters from the northerly interior side lot line prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. Two, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been, and or the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And three, appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Did you want to take a recorded vote or?
No.
Just go ahead. All in favor? That's carried. So your application has been approved, Mr. Lewis. Just a comment that there is a 20-day appeal period. So please don't go forward with any further work until that 20 days is complete.
Well, thank you very much.
The next application is on Boshkung Lake for a minor variance by Williams.
This property is located at 16559 Highway 35. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 1 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 0.4 acres in area with 100 meters of frontage on Boshkung Lake. Surrounding uses are generally recreational, commercial, extractive, industrial, and rural residential. And the lands are currently developed with a shed, sleeping cabin, gazebo, and a dock. The dwelling on the subject lands was recently demolished to accommodate the redevelopment of the subject property. The owner is proposing to construct an open deck on the front of the proposed dwelling. The recently demolished dwelling had an open deck that was set back 4 meters, and the proposed deck will be 7.1 meters from the high water mark. The owner is also proposing to construct a 900 square foot detached garage, 25.9 meters from the high water mark. And finally, the owner is also proposing to allow an illegally constructed gazebo to remain set back 0 meters from the high water mark. The proposed deck will be located in front of the proposed dwelling, and it will project beyond the front face of the dwelling, moving 3 meters closer to the high water mark. The detached garage will be located on the upper portion of the property, moving closer to the rear property line. So for those two minor variances, the existing topography and site infrastructure, which include the driveway and septic system, along with a limited lot depth, do restrict the available building locations that would comply with the zoning bylaw requirements. The gazebo was constructed by the previous owner of the subject lands and does not comply with the township zoning bylaw. Staff are not supportive of this proposed variance to remain at the 0 meter setback, as there's limited planning rationale provided to allow it to remain. And there also appears to be other locations on the subject lands where a gazebo could be constructed in compliance with the township zoning bylaw. So the following 3 variances are being requested. That is 1 from section 4.2.7D of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 12 meters to 7.1 meters for an open deck. 2 from section 4.2.8 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 25.9 meters to permit the construction of a 900 square foot detached garage. And 3, from section 4.2.9 G of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 12 meters to 0 meters for a 100 square foot gazebo. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the Boschkong Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received to date, and staff would recommend approval of proposed minor variance 1 and 2, conditional on the following: confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed deck is not located closer than 7.1 meters from the front property line prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. 2, confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed detached garage is not located closer than 25.9 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 3, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 4, appropriate construction mitigation measures being implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. And then finally, staff would recommend refusal of the 3rd proposed minor variance. And yes.
Thank you. Any questions for Sean on his report? Mr. Woods?
I'm a little confused. It's an understatement. Was there any drawings or anything for this particular application that shows where the buildings were supposed to be and et cetera? Because I don't have it in my package.
Well, and the drawing that's provided it's pretty small. It's hard to read.
I don't even know if I got a drawing. No, never saw that. Excuse me for 1 second. Can I just look at this and then I'll have questions? So if somebody else has questions.
Other questions on this application? I wanted to ask if was there a demolition permit for the building to come down?
There would have been. I can't think.
Micro.
Oh, sorry. There would have been a demo permit for that. I just can't confirm it right now. But yeah, that would be the normal practice.
Okay, and I also wondered if there was any permit or request for tree removal. There's a lot of trees there that have been cut down, and it's very hard to determine, whether they're actually just simply associated with the building envelope or beyond. It kind of almost looks like it's been clear cut. And I wondered if there had been a permit associated with that.
Yeah, that I'm not aware of one being issued, but we can clarify that with the applicant.
Okay. And my final question would be, if we're with respect to the deck, is there any ability for us to include a condition that says that deck cannot be enclosed in the future?
Yes, the committee could. It wouldn't be permitted without coming back to the committee anyways, but we could include that as an additional condition.
Mr. Woods?
The pictures that I have show on the water, looks like canoes, et cetera,
That's the gazebo.
that's where the gazebo is being proposed.
The gazebo exists. It was constructed without a building permit.
Oh, I didn't see it.
And I believe the gazebo that you're talking about actually is part of the dock.
Correct.
It's the one that sits right on the water.
That is
That's
correct,
covered,
yeah.
right?
Again, I'm going to ask for clarification because I'm not quite sure I understand it. So I'm just going to take a moment if you
Go
don't mind.
ahead. Yep.
Yes, the one up. Yes, that's the gazebo.
That was constructed when?
I'm not
Sometime in the
exactly sure on the
past.
date, but it was by the previous owner of the property
So this was existing before and they're asking for.
to legalize it through its variance.
Any other questions for Sean at this point in time. So Mr. Williams is present.
Hi, I'm
Good
actually,
afternoon.
hi there, I'm actually Mrs. Williams.
Well, I kind of you did not look like Mr. Williams. So you're going to speak to the application?
Yes,
Okay, what would you like to add? Or is there anything you'd like to add, or you're just here to respond to questions?
I'm just here to respond to questions if you have any. Just in terms of the permit, that would have been our contractor that had the permit for the demo and some of the tree removal. There were trees that were removed on the property and he cleared them up just from the previous owner. And then the gazebo doesn't necessarily have to stay there if there's no, like we understand that it may possibly need to be removed and that's fine as well. That was built by the previous owner. So we bought the property like that.
So in fact, you didn't do any clear or tree cutting that was done before you acquired the property?
So there were a lot of trees removed on the property when we purchased the property there's a portion of the property that's all forested area. So our contractor pulled all those trees out and put them in a pile. There were some trees that were cut down as well, just around the dwelling that were like ready to fall on the previous property, the previous cottage that was demoed. So he pulled them down, but he would have the permit for that.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the applicant, Mr. Woods? No?
No, I don't know.
Any questions?
I just have one, and that's where this, what we're calling the gazebo is, the surface areas seems to be part of the dock. Is the issue that it has a permanent roof over it? And if so, like it looks to me like it's part of the dock, except it's got this permanent roof on part of the structure. So I just want clarification. Is the issue the roof that's on it, or is it the dock part?
Yes, it is the roof portion. If it was just an open dock or deck, then that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for either Sean or the applicant? Could I have Mr. Woods?
Sean, what are you proposing for not acceptance of the existing? Are you proposing that they can leave it if they take everything off?
So what I'm recommending is that the minor variance to allow the gazebo to stay as is not approved by the committee. And then that would mean the roof structure would need to be removed. And it could remain as an open deck or dock in that area.
Could we include that in the approval process, as she has already indicated they're prepared to do something in regards to the gazebo, because that's not something they constructed? Could we make it in such a way that takes that part of it out of it?
We could include it as a condition that it be removed before any other building permits are issued on the property.
Not sure that's what I'm
The
asking.
roof structure.
Just removal of the roof structure and leave the existing dock there as it sits. Is that,
It's a deck.
it's a deck?
So that part can remain. All they have to do is remove the roof part, and then that becomes a legal structure then.
So they wouldn't have to go for an application for that.
No.
And how do you feel about that? Oh, she's still here. Mrs.
Um,
Williams?
I'm still here. Yep, that's fine. We're happy with.
And there is all kinds of, I mean, there's adequate room, I think, on the property if they actually want to build it.
Oh, I understand that. There's lots of room there. That was the other side of the equation. I wasn't quite sure where you were coming from, Sean. So I do now understand. Okay.
Ms. Richards.
I have a question on that. So is the problem that the roof on there is permanently affixed versus somebody buying one of those pergolas from Home Depot and putting it there?
Yes, it's a permanent structure versus a temporary structure.
Any other questions? Could I have a mover and a seconder then to accept Mr. O'Callahan's recommendations?
I'll
Mr. Wood?
move the
Mr.
recommendations.
Rogers? Seconded? Ms. Sharp?
Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Christine Sharp. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby grants minor variance requests 1 and 2 of application HMV 02322 to seek relief from section 4.2.7D of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 12 meters to 7.1 meters for an open deck. 2 from section 4.2.8 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 25.9 meters to permit the construction of a 900 square foot detached garage, conditional on confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed deck is not located closer than 7.1 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed detached garage is not located closer than 25.9 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 3, any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 4, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. And further, that the Committee of Adjustment hereby refuses minor variance request number 3 of application HMV 02322 to seek relief from section 4.2.9G of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 12 meters to 0 meters for a 100 square foot gazebo.
Before I say all in favor, I did have one. I'm sorry that I missed one question that I wanted to ask. And maybe the applicant can respond to this. This small building that's attached to the gazebo, is that, do you know if that's a storage building or is it an outhouse?
I don't have the answer to that.
It's just a little shed that has life jackets in it.
Okay. I just kind of thought, oh my God.
No.
If it's an out.
No,
Okay, thanks very much.
no problem.
I also have a question. I'm sorry that I should have asked it earlier. The setback from going back further from the water is not possible because of the highway? What's the property line? Is that the reason why it can't go any further back?
Yes, well, that's part of it, as well as the slope of the property and where the driveway and septic system will be going. So they'll be able to be located further back from the water. So that's the reason why I'm supporting those variances.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? That's carried. So your application has been approved with the exception of the one portion. It just is a bit of advice. There is a 20-day appeal period, so no further construction until that period is gone through.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you so much.
The final item is Collis and Mal's application for variance on let's say a location.
Little Hawk Lake Road.
Okay.
Yes, this property is located at 1610 Little Hawk Lake Road. The lands are zoned rural residential and designated rural under the official plan. The property is approximately 0.32 acres in area with 0 meters of frontage with 0 meters of frontage. The property is accessed via a private right-of-way running through 1608 Little Hawk Lake Road. The surrounding uses are generally rural residential and industrial, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling. The applicants are proposing to construct an addition to the existing legal non-complying dwelling, increasing the gross floor area from 720 square feet to 1,296 square feet. The proposed 2-story addition will further encroach towards the front lot line. The existing dwelling and site infrastructure, including the driveway, septic system, and well, do limit available building locations that would comply with the township zoning bylaw. So the applicant is requesting the following 2 variances, and that is 1 from section 4.14.5I to increase the gross floor area of a legal non-complying dwelling from 720 square feet to 1,296 square feet. as well as from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the front lot line from 12 meters to 9.5 meters to permit the construction of a 288 square foot 2-story addition. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands. No objections have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. One, confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed addition is not located closer than 9.5 meters from the front lot line prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. And 2, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Any questions for Sean? Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, on the site plan, it doesn't show the distance, to that front lot line, and I'm just, is everybody comfortable that that's the right, the right number? Just the way the building angles at this point, I presume we're very comfortable about that.
Yes, I did go over that with the applicants. Where the addition's going is actually where the deck is located on the site plan. And so we were able to use that drawing to determine the 9.5 meter setback.
So the deck is gone now.
Will be.
Actually, no, I think that
It's
the deck is, the one that's in this drawing is gone.
The deck-
because
Oh,
They
okay.
put one to the south.
Yes.
I think it's south.
There's a little landing deck right now where you go in the door to
Door,
the house,
yes.
and that's where the proposed addition is going to be.
coming out,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So, and is the applicant here? Well, if you'd like to bring him in, him or her. Oh, yep, absolutely.
Sean, am I correct that this was an existing building that was taken down and this building constructed?
Yes, so they demolished the building and rebuilt using that same footprint.
So did they need approval for that, or was it just a building permit?
It was just a building permit required.
And so because this is and now looks like an addition to an addition, is there any concerns about that being sort of, why wasn't this disclosed earlier? Or is this something?
I'm not concerned, just given the size of the lot, they are very limited in where any additions could go. Yeah, I didn't have any concerns. with that.
Okay.
So there were building permits in place for what's been done so far.
That's correct.
Yeah, so it has the same square footage. That building that's there now is the same as what was there before. This is now an addition to that building. Okay,
Nice.
thank you.
Mr. Collis, did you have any additional information that you'd like to give to the committee?
Hi, good day. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. I'll just address, I believe it's Chris. Chris had a
Yes, it
question.
is.
In regards to the deck on the front there. So when I applied for the land survey, I had the surveyor, I believe, put that deck portion on, which isn't there right now, on the land survey. So that way we could reference where the building would be towards the lot lines.
Any other questions for Mr. Collis? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder then to approve the application? Ms. Richards, Mr. Woods.
Moved by Sabrina Richards, seconded by Chris Woods, be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby grants minor variance application HMV 00223 to seek relief from section 4.14.5I of the zoning bylaw to increase the gross floor area of a legal non-complying dwelling from 720 square feet to 1,296 square feet. And from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the front lot line from 12 meters to 9.5 meters to permit the construction of a 288 square foot two-story addition to a dwelling. Conditional on one, confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed addition is not located closer than 9.5 meters from the front lot line prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. And two, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit.
All in favor? That's carried. So your application has been approved, Mr. Collis, and there is a 20-day appeal period, so no further construction until that time has passed.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Meanwhile, good luck with your project.
Thank you.
So we're now going to go into a closed session to have some training for the committee. So could I have a mover and a seconder to go into closed? Mr. Rogers, Ms. Richards.
Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Sabrina Richards. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby adjourns its open session at 1:36 PM to proceed into a closed session pursuant to section 239 bracket 3.1 of the Municipal Act as amended for the purpose of education and training.
All in favor? That's carried.
Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Sabrina Richards. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment closed session hereby adjourns at 3:19 PM and open session resume.
All in favor? That's carried. And could we now have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Woods, Ms. Sharp.
Moved by Chris Woods, seconded by Christine Sharp. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby adjourns its regular meeting at 3:19 PM.
All in favor? That's carried. Thanks. What was